so far, Democrats have not done a thing to punish his rotten behavior. Let's not forget what happened in 2016 when McConnell refused to even schedule a hearing for Merrick Garland. Once Trump was elected, McConnell blew up the filibuster rule to confirm Federalist Judge Neil Gorsuch. McConnell called that move the crowning jewel of his time as majority leader. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. North Korean defector slams woke U.S. school. She graduated from Columbia, where Barack Obama did his undergraduate work. We'll talk about that in just a second. The reason for Joy Reid's diatribe against Mitch McConnell, in which he made a bunch of falsehoods, is because McConnell said this about Biden if Biden were to attempt to fill a Supreme Court vacancy.
Well, I think in the middle of a presidential election, if you have a Senate of the opposite party of the president, you have to go back to the 1880s to find the last time a vacancy was filled. So I think it's highly unlikely. In fact, no, I don't think either party, if it were different from the president, would confirm a Supreme Court nominee in the middle of an election. What was different in 2020 was we were of the same party as the president, and that's why we went ahead with it.
So Joy Reid called it evil, what Mitch McConnell was doing, and falsely claimed that it was the Republicans who changed the rules so that the nominee could get up with a simple majority vote. In fact, here's what Mitch McConnell said in 2013 when the Democrats changed the rules in order to get an appellate court nominee through. And McConnell said, this is the nuclear option. You guys have invoked it. You're going to regret it because we're going to use it against you later on. But it was the Democrats that did it. This is 2013, Joy Reid.
Once again, Senate Democrats are threatening to break the rules of the Senate, in order to change the rules of the Senate. And over what? Over what? Over a court that doesn't even have enough work to do? The majority leader promised, over and over again, that he wouldn't break the rules of the Senate in order to change them. If you want to play games, set yet another precedent that you'll no doubt come to regret. Say to my friends on the other side of the aisle, you'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
And because the Democrats were so afraid that somebody like Bork would change the ideological complexion of the court, they went to war against him on ideological reasons, not for ethnic violations, tax shenanigans that brought down the three other people that had been nominated in the 20th century up until then. They got after him on ideological grounds. Within minutes of Ronald Reagan nominating Robert Bork, here's what Ted Kennedy did.
Robert Bork's America is a land in which women would be forced into back alley abortions.
Keep in mind, this is a guy that they unanimously confirmed for the D.C. court. A guy now who's anti-women, who's a racist, who wants to roll back the clock on civil rights. Ted Kennedy, 1987. Joy Reid, you still listening?
Robert Bork's America is a land in which women would be forced into back alley abortions. Blacks would sit at segregated lunch counters. Rogue police could break down citizens' doors in midnight raids, and school children could not be taught about evolution. Writers and artists would be censured at the whim of government.
That was Ted Kennedy attacking this man that had been unanimously confirmed for the D.C. court. Now, you think that Larry Elder is exaggerating when this changed how the court proceedings would go going forward? I'm holding in my baby brown libertarian fingers an article from the New York Times. You know, that well-known right-wing rag. Here's the headline. Politics in the Bork battle. Opinion polls and campaign-style pressure may change Supreme Court confirmations. Bork opponents reject suggestions that concerns about overly politicizing the confirmation process make it somehow inappropriate to oppose his nomination on ideological grounds. They said, hell no, we can oppose him on any grounds, including that. That's New York Times. Here's Newsweek, also a right-wing publication. Quote, when Justice Lewis Powell unexpectedly announced his retirement, it set the stage for what people recognized was a pivotal moment in the fight for the Supreme Court. and not because the nominee was perceived as unqualified, unethical, too much of a crony, or other assorted concerns that had sunk nominees in the past. This was purely about ideology. Did I mention this is in Newsweek? Joy Reid, you still listening? Quote, Chairman Joe Biden said he would support Bork. Said he looked like another Antonin Scalia who had been unanimously nominated that same year. But then the liberal activist groups jumped in, and Biden then warned Reagan, if you nominate Bork, you're going to have trouble. Even Biden initially said Bork was fine. The strategy was to portray Bork as neither conservative nor liberal, but somebody who just was out of control. But on pure legal merit, says Newsweek, quote, he was widely considered the most qualified nominee since Felix Frankfurter. For those of you who never went to law school, Felix Frankfurter is revered. On pure legal merit, he was widely considered the most qualified nominee since Felix Frankfurter. Within 40 minutes of Reagan's nomination, Senator Ted Kennedy took to the Senate floor and condemned Bork.
Robert Bork's America is a land in which women would be forced into back alley abortions, blacks would sit at segregated lunch counters, rogue police could break down citizens' doors in midnight raids, and school children could not be taught about evolution. Writers and artists would be censured at the whim of government.
Newsweek continues, quote, it was a declaration of war, catching the administration on its back foot. They had no idea this was coming. Because in the past, what sunk nominees were ethical problems. This guy is as sharp as Felix Frankfurter, unanimously concerned in the second most important court, the D.C. Court of Appeals, and all of a sudden now he's a racist who wants to roll back the clock on civil rights? Quote, starting September 15, there would be an amazing 12 days of hearing, 5 of which involve questioning Bork himself, including a rare Saturday session. This was more than for any other nominee before or since except Louis Brandeis in 1916. Again, this is written in 2000. Paul Simon, a Democrat, member of the Judiciary Committee, said he personally opposed the nomination, but if the vote had been taken when the hearings began, he would have approved him. Among the witnesses testifying in his favor, former President Gerald Ford called him uniquely qualified. Bob Dole praised his judicial restraint. Senator John Danforth from Missouri, who studied under Bork at law school, praised him. Joy Reid, you have just lied to your viewers. You've given them a completely false narration of the history of these contentious battles. You falsely accused the Republicans of starting it when the Democrats did. You falsely accused the Republicans of changing the filibuster when the Democrats did. How dare you? How dare you? I'm Larry Elder. Still on Twitter.